Hey everybody, Uncle Rich here for Who's Telling the Truth. Today is February 23rd, 2015, 2 days till my daughter's birthday. Happy birthday, sweetie. And this is show 83, and the name of the show, oh, we got that, there we go. The name of the show is Busted. And you're gonna say, Rich, what are you talking about? Guys, we caught, well, we didn't catch, the New York Times and Greenpeace caught Dr. Wee Hock Soon, who's a climate denier, with his hand in the cookie jar. He had more than his hand in the cookie jar. He was so far in the cookie jar, he was in the cookie jar. But anyway, guys, we're going to expose him tonight. And that's why we called the name of the show Busted, because he's going to be busted. And it's a shame that there's people like him around, but we're going to prove it to you. And after we disgrace him, we're going to show you something that you're not going to believe, something that happened up in Canada, and it has to deal with the Fox North. That's right, Fox North going off the air. They had it up there with Fox. Just like I had it, they had it up in Canada. They're off the air. We're going to show you the clip. And then we're going to go back to the birth of the solar nation, guys. And when you hear what Tim Cook, the CEO from Apple, has to say, it's going to blow you away. When you see what the high-tech companies are doing, what Apple's doing, what Google's doing, what Facebook's doing, what Amazon is doing, they're all building new world headquarters. And you know what, guys? You wouldn't even know they existed. I mean, these aren't, you know, years ago we built skyscrapers, these towering monuments, no more. These things are green as can be, and you wouldn't even know they were businesses, half of them. I'll tell you, you're gonna be impressed. And then we're gonna have an update on Tesla's Gigafactory. And guys, initially I was gonna call the show The Holy Grail. And why? Because batteries have come to the point where batteries are gonna be the Holy Grail for the electric industry. And when we show you what's coming up, you're gonna go, man, we got a lot of things to look forward to. And we really do. But first, we're gonna start, and instead of giving Dr. Wee Hock Soon the old bada bing, we're just gonna say that he's busted. So let's take a look at the first still. Judy, if you can bring the first still up. And guys, I believe this was off the, well, this is from the New York Times, all right? And the headline reads, "Deeper Ties to Corporate Cash for Doubtful Climate Researcher." And it was written by Justin Gillis and John Schwartz, and it was published in the Times on February 21st, 2015. So we've named our sources. We've dotted the I's and we've crossed the T's. And also just take a look at that Heritage Foundation logo. Guys, what is the Heritage Foundation? Who are they associated with? Judy, could you bring up the stills with the Koch brothers think tanks? There you go. Hey guys, look at that. The Heritage Foundation is a Koch brothers think tank. All right, now I'm going to read the article. So Judy, you can go back and forth, but I'm going to read the article that was posted in the New York Times, and it states, "For years, politicians wanting to block legislation on climate change have bolstered their arguments by pointing to the work of a handful of scientists who claim that greenhouse gases pose little risk to humanity. One of the names they evoke most often is Wee Hock Soon, known as Willie, a scientist at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, who claims that variations in the sun's energy can largely explain recent global warming. Oh, my computer just went dark. Oh no. Okay. So anyway, guys, just bear with me a second. This is live TV, and okay, here we go. Okay, so I forgot. Okay, he's a scientist, astrophysics, who claims that variations in the sun's energy can largely explain recent global warming. He has often appeared on conservative news programs, got to be Fox News, testified before Congress and in state capitals, and starred at conferences of people who deny the risks of global warming. But newly released documents show the extent to which Dr. Soon's work has been tied to funding he received from corporate interests. Judy, you can come back and forth to me if you want. He has accepted more than $1.2 million in money from the fossil fuel industry over the last decade, while failing to disclose that conflict of interest in most of his scientific papers. Remember, this is the New York Times, guys. At least 11 papers he has published since 2008 omitted such a disclosure. And in at least 8 of these cases, he appears to have violated ethical guidelines of the journals that published his work. Ethical guidelines? I don't know if this guy has any guidelines. All right, guys, well, bear with me again. This is embarrassing. But like I said, normally when I do this, I'm home. And anyway, Judy, can we go to the next still now? All right, guys, I'm going to try to read off this. The documents show that Dr. Soon, in correspondence with his corporate funders, described many of the scientific papers as deliverables that he completed in exchange for their money. He used the same term to describe testimony he prepared for Congress. Though Dr. Soon did not respond to questions about the documents, he has long stated that his corporate funding has not influenced his scientific findings. Come on, let's be honest with each other. All right, now the documents were obtained by Greenpeace, the environmental group under the Freedom of Information Act. Greenpeace and an allied group, the Climate Investigation Center, shared them with several news organizations last week. So Judy, let's have the clip that provides the verification of what Greenpeace found. So hit it. Dr. Willie Soon denies climate change science. Greenpeace asked Dr. Willie Soon about his finding from the fossil fuel industry.
I work for Greenpeace.
Oh, thank you.
I was wondering who might be funding your grants this year. I know that historically there was some research funded on solar variability in polar bears from the American Petroleum Institute, and ExxonMobil, and Charles and David Koch. I was wondering who might be.
Jim, here's a Greenpeace again, trying to hustle people.
Jim Lakely?
Yeah.
Connor, nice to meet you.
I'd rather not answer this question because you know what you have done. Greenpeace has obtained every information allowed under Freedom of Information Act. You please look back into your own records, okay? Because I'm under no obligation to answer any of your rude questions because I have spoken repeatedly, I have respectfully answered you that no amount of money could influence me. You insist on finding fault with funding. It has nothing to do with the science that I just discussed with you. Thank you again. I think you better leave it there because this is extremely rude to me. I mean, I'm sorry, I work very hard on my science.
Who provides the funding that goes through Donors Trust to your newer grants?
You please go ask Donor Trust, ask my center. You already obtained your information through Freedom of Information Act, which is very damaging for science. I don't recommend this recipe for anyone. I don't recommend this.
Why don't you want people to know who's paying for the work when you say you can stand by it as credible research, but there's a vested interest funding it?
Dr. Soon has already talked about those issues on the stage today and in the past.
Guys, you saw the logo behind them on the stage. You saw the Heritage Foundation, and what's the one thing that they want to do? They want to create doubt. That's all they want to do. They just want to raise doubt so you can question it, that climate change might not be happening. But guys, we know better than that. And you know, what really bothers me is this guy took $1,300,000 in denial money. You know, doesn't he have one of those little guys on his shoulder? You know, no, really, I mean, doesn't he have somebody, some conscience that tells him, hey, this is the wrong, I don't care what you pay me. I'm not going to sacrifice my education, and I'm not going to embarrass myself by giving you deliverables. Can you imagine this, deliverables? Because this is what the fossil fuel industry wants to hear. And you got guys like this that don't care. They don't care. They'll say anything about anything. Pay them. Just pay them. And you know, Uncle Joey will say, Rich, it's your think tanks that want the money. No, it's the fossil fuel industries that confuse the simple folk. The guys that don't know how to read a thermometer, that don't understand science. And you listen to a guy like this Dr. Soon. He doesn't know his ass from a hole in a wall, but yet he's up there in front of the Heritage Foundation. Why? To create doubt. That's all. And guys, you know, if there's one thing that drives me nuts, it's the one thing that we always say on this show. Whenever somebody says to you something about climate change, you know, you want to, what's the one thing you want to ask them? Where are you getting your information from? Be specific and name your sources. Guys, you'll never hear from them again. I'm telling you, they run for cover and you'll never hear from them again. Be specific and name your sources. Now, the next clip is a still. And it's a still from Glenn Beck, and it's a still from The Blaze. Judy, can you throw that up for a minute? All right, sometimes we have trouble with the stills, but Judy, we should have there we go. Guys, so you'll see that this is from The Blaze, and I don't think there's a date on it, but it says conservative Canadian news channel nicknamed Fox News North shuts down after 3 years. Guys, that's music to my ears. Fox News North shuts down. So Judy, let's have the next clip for verification that it closed. Hit it.
Sun TV News is about to sign off permanently. CBC News has learned that the cable news channel will shut down early tomorrow. The network began broadcasting in 2011, launching a right-of-center programming schedule. It has had a constant challenge attracting viewers. Some of its supporters blame the CRTC for not giving it the same access enjoyed by news channels operated by CBC and CTV. Almost 200 people are employed at Sun TV News.
Guys, I feel sorry for the 200 people that lost their job. But you know what? Toodles. Hey, I'll tell you, we don't need the divisiveness from Fox. And you know, we don't need the BS that they put out on the air constantly. And I mean, I'll tell you, sometimes Fox is almost impossible for me to watch. And I mean, I'm a veteran. So I mean, when they start pushing me over the edge. Now, last week we spoke about the birth of the solar nation. And guys, today we're going to hear it. The first clip we want to play is how we have to wrap our head around the idea of that things have to change. The business models have to change. And like the one guy says in one of the clips, the power companies have to learn that they'll make more money by generating less electricity. Now, I know it doesn't sound kosher, But we're going to play this clip and just listen to what they have to say, and you'll see that we're ready for a model change, and Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, is going to prove it to us. But let's have the first clip now. So Judy,
the world is almost entirely solar powered already. If the sun wasn't there, we'd be a frozen ice ball at 3 degrees Kelvin.
For the first time, we're going to buy solar under 5 cents a kilowatt hour, and that puts solar competitive with wind, competitive with natural gas, competitive with coal, and competitive with nuclear. In fact, it beats them all. And that's a revolution.
No more slides.
The company that brought you the iPod and iPad is shrinking its carbon footprint, building the nation's largest privately owned solar farm to run its data center in Maiden, North Carolina.
Well, the old model's going to not work anymore. And smart utility executives are going to start finding different ways to make their companies profitable.
This is what happened with file sharing in music. This is what happened with Wikipedia. This is what happened with YouTube. When millions of small players come together and they create the software and the connections, their power overwhelms these old-fashioned nuclear and coal-fired and natural gas plants. It isn't even a competition.
We can hear
this is a fundamentally different type of power plant,
oh.
and it can spread much more rapidly than any of the other types of power production that we've seen in our history. That makes it a truly disruptive technology.
We said to the power companies, your job is no longer to create power, fossil fuel and nuclear power. Your job, your new mission, will be to manage the energy internet, because that's a technical proposition.
Historically, electric utilities have survived by selling electricity in volume, and the more they sold, the more money they made.
What we said to them is, here's your new business model as a utility and power company. You need to sell as little electricity as you can sell. The less electricity you sell, the more money you're going to make.
Guys, just like he said, the less electricity you sell, the more you'll make. And then you'll say, Rich, that doesn't sound, it sounds counterintuitive. Guys, here's the way to look at it. Let's say Apple is going to spend $100 million on electricity, all right? If there was some way that they could generate that electricity for free with solar panels, let's say they cut down their costs to only $50 million. So they save $50 million. But they have to transport that electricity. So what they have to do is they don't want to get into the electricity grid business. So what they'll do is they'll share the savings with the power company. I know people are going to say, Rich, it sounds like socialism. Well, it is, because you're going to share. You know what I mean? And everybody's going to benefit. And isn't that why we're here? To help each other so we can all benefit, we can work together. And I tell you, when you see the next clip is Tim Cook, and he's going to push back against his shareholders. But I'll let him explain it. So Judy, hit it.
Apple has made strides towards being a more environmentally friendly company and plans to eventually have its facilities completely powered by renewable energy, but those plans aren't sitting well with some shareholders. During the Q&A portion of Apple's annual shareholders meeting, CEO Tim Cook was questioned by a member of the group regarding these policies. Cook said, "If you want me to do things only for return on investment reasons, you should get out of this stock." Cook added that not everything Apple does is motivated by money.
Guys, now the next clip we're going to show you proves that he not only talks the talk, but he walks the walk. So Judy, hit us with the next one.
At Apple, we design products that change people's lives. We believe in the power of values to shape history, and we strive to live those values every single day. We believe the country that made our success possible should be the land of opportunity for every American. That's why we support President Obama's Connect Ed initiative to equip underserved schools with cutting-edge technologies. It's why we're committed to hiring American suppliers, and it's why we're manufacturing more of our products and components in the United States. In fact, our products and innovations so far have led to the creation of more than 1 million American jobs in all 50 states. We believe in leaving the world better than we found it, and that's why we're on track to meet our goal of running our entire company on renewable energy. Thank you.
Guys, the CEO of the richest company in the world, you just heard it from his lips. We believe in leaving the world better than we found it. Uncle Joe, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you and your Koch brothers buddies can burn all the fossil fuel you want, but it's time to face facts. It's time to stop swimming upstream, you know? And the more we go into the show, the more we show you what Apple's doing, you know, hopefully the light will go on. So Judy, let's have the next clip.
Suzanne Goldenberg for The Guardian at the Apple Data Center in North Carolina. The sun is finally coming out here after a little bit of rain in this huge solar farm. There are 55,000 solar panels here, and they provide the power for Apple's big data center in North Carolina. This is the energy source for the iCloud.
And with iCloud, it all works automatically and wirelessly.
A few years ago, Apple was one of the bad guys of the tech world because of its heavy use of dirty power. Now they say they're out-greening the other companies because of facilities like this solar farm right here. We've been given rare access to Apple's data center, and our tour guide, Lisa Jackson, who made the jump from Barack Obama's administration to the corporate world to lead Apple's climate change agenda.
We do feed into the grid and then buy back power. So we're actually adding to the amount of green generation in the state.
Right now, this is just one of the 3 solar farms that are going to be powering this data center. But the idea is that projects like this one are going to push utility companies like Duke Energy to clean up their game.
If we weren't here, this would be about 52% nuclear, about 35% coal, less than 1% renewables. Data centers over 160 million kilowatt hours that it's generating every year. That's the equivalent power for 14,000 US homes.
So Apple is already on its way to greening the cloud.
Guys, that's the data. That's the Apple data center in North Carolina. Wait till you see what they're going to do at their home office in California, because they're going to spend $850 million just on solar panels. So if you haven't bought stock in First Solar, you might be a little bit late. But guys, when you see, and the most important thing is, I want you to listen. Now this is from Bloomberg. I mean, these guys are economists. I want you to listen to how they talk about how the business model is changing. Everything is changing. So stop swimming upstream. So Judy, let's take a look at the next one, and guys, pay attention to the numbers.
Brad, let me start with you. He sort of built up to this as the big news, and I think this is big news. I mean, $150 million is a big spend. You know, nearly 3,000 acres of solar. That's a big project.
Sure, and it calls back to something he said at the Apple shareholder meeting last year. If you remember, he was questioned about the ROI of its alternative energy projects, and he sort of reacted quite forcibly and said, if you just care about ROI, get out of the stock. So, you know, Cook, he's got a great kind of feel for the value of Apple, the values of Apple customers. Alternative energy projects is consistent with those values. It makes a statement about kind of where Apple's heart is.
Michelle, let me ask you, you know solar as well as anyone. How big a deal is this big project?
The magnitude of this deal is very, very big, Corey. There are solar projects that are bigger than this one, but this is you know, really gargantuan in terms of the size of the solar project. But what's really notable when you think about size is who the off-taker is. So there are bigger solar projects, but nothing that's been signed with someone who's not a utility. So usually it's signed with an electricity company. And we have seen corporations sign renewable energy deals to take some of their electricity, but never in solar, never something of this magnitude, and obviously nothing with the brand name at the level of Apple. Bear in mind also that Apple has made investments in solar before. They have 4 solar projects that are either already operating or in development, but this triples their capacity, triples their intake of solar energy.
And to be specific, they're supplying the power back to the grid, and so when Tim Cook said, I would imagine, right, so when Tim Cook says it will power their data center and offices and stores, it's not actually going to go directly to them. It's just going to go back into the grid, and the power that they pull off the grid will be equivalent?
That's right. So there's no doubt that behind the scenes there must have been some complexity involved in putting together this deal, a lot of negotiations back and forth. But at the end of the day, this is actually surprisingly painless for Apple. There's no upfront investment they're putting in. They're most likely getting power at a price lower than they would have paid off the grid. And at the end of the day, the electricity does go back into the grid. And actually, maybe the kind of the unsung middleman in all of this is the company Pacific Gas and Electric, PG&E, which is the utility in the service territory. And this doesn't really happen without PG&E's help and involvement.
I can only imagine those discussions. Brad, where does this fit into the espousal of corporate values that was part of Tim Cook's talk yesterday?
Well, I do think it's part of a larger framework. You know, the other topic that he spent some time on was Apple Pay, and of course, you know, the whole presentation was somewhat scripted, and of course, he's talking about how Apple Pay has taken off and how banks and retailers have really coalesced around it. But he made a point to say that Apple's not collecting any personal data, no financial data with Apple Pay, no healthcare data with some of its healthcare initiatives, and I think, you know, the implicit comparison here is to other technology companies whose business models are different. Apple is aligning itself, on the side of its customers. So not only, customers that care about data privacy, but also conscientious customers who care about things like the environment. That's where Tim Cook wants to be. I think he's had a lot of success since he took over as CEO in sort of painting himself as an advocate for Apple customers.
Yeah, and Brad, he said a couple times during the talk yesterday that I thought it was striking. He said, you know, at Apple, we believe we should leave the world a better place than we found it. And he said that a couple times, and I wondered if that was more Tim Cook and less Steve Jobs.
Perhaps, and, you know, frankly, I'll admit to a little eye rolling when I hear things like that. But
I'm the cynic on this show.
Like maybe he lost.
Wait a minute, I'm the cynic on this show. No, I know. I don't know. I'm a sucker for that, though.
Yeah, I feel like he lost his interviewer there, Gary Cohn, the COO of Goldman Sachs, who was flashing a little impatience as well. But, Tim Cook, stays on message. That has been his message for quite some time. And, I think the customers believe it. And certainly investors love it, as you can see by the share price. And Apple passed that $700 billion threshold in market cap yesterday, which was quite impressive.
Michael DeCapua, back to the solar issue, and I wonder in terms of leadership, what this means. Apple's a company like no other. It has a bigger enterprise value, a bigger market cap than any company's ever had. Might we expect other companies, however, outside of the power generation business to get into this business of power generation, particularly when there are big federal subsidies?
Corey, it's already been happening. This is a trend that's been a while in the making. Google has been really at the forefront of it. The other tech companies, Microsoft, Yahoo, even Amazon earlier this year, have all been doing some of these very large renewable energy deals. But it's true. I mean, you know, when you have someone of Apple's stature coming in, it alerts other companies to the possibilities. And again, it's not just the possibilities around whatever it is, improving their footprint, around sustainability, around addressing climate change. It really is an economic opportunity, and there's a really extraordinary opportunity around solar, given the incentives that are in place today, that exist for the next that exist at this level, at least for the next 2 years.
Guys, everybody's starting to get the idea, and just to prove it, the next clip we're going to show you involves Apple, Facebook, Google, and Amazon. All these high-tech companies, they're all involved in renewable energy. So Judy, let's have the next one.
Have you been out to the West Coast lately? There is some crazy edifice complex thing going on out there right now. 4 of the biggest tech companies in the world are developing massive new corporate campuses. In downtown Seattle, Amazon is building 3 new skyscrapers and, check this out, 3 interconnected biodomes, which are going to include things like mountain flora and mature trees. Down south in Silicon Valley, 3 projects are currently underway. Facebook is expanding its Menlo Park campus with the help of architect Frank Gehry. The new building is effectively one giant room,
Judy?
But with a green roof that's going to have trailways and parkland on top. Google is developing its Bayview campus, which is going to be set up so no employee is more than a 2.5-minute walk from any other employee. And then, of course, there's Apple. The tech giant has long been working on Apple Campus 2, a 2.8 million square foot flying saucer that will generate its own power, be clad in 360 degrees of curved glass, and might cost as much as $5 billion to build. Of course, splashing out on fancy new digs doesn't always work out very well for all companies. Back in the turn of this century, some of the biggest new corporate headquarters were the Bear Stearns HQ, Lehman Brothers' new headquarters, and the AOL Time Warner Center. Presumably, the tech elite are hoping things work out a little bit differently for them.
Guys, the business model's changing. I mean, you see it. You know, I think the next show, maybe that's what we should concentrate on. I mean, really go into in-depth, because they have a lot of these, you know, with the drones, you know, and you can watch the Apple place being built, and oh, it's phenomenal. And I tell you, I really think the next show, that's what we'll do. But did you notice that there was one company that wasn't mentioned? One of my favorites, Tesla. And guys, I tell you what, you know, I want to try to keep up on the progress of the Gigafactory, but there's a real estate company, and these guys, this is what you call entrepreneurialism. You know, these guys are giving you updates on the factory being built while they're giving you prices on the homes. And so far, the homes in Reno, Nevada have appreciated 5% since Tesla has decided to move in. So we're going to listen to the sales girl, and in the background you're going to see how big the factory is going to be, and take a look at the earth movers moving around in the foreground, and it'll just blow you away. So Judy, let's have the next one.
Hi, I'm Candy Noel with RenoSparks.TahoeHomes.com. I wanted to do a few short quarterly video series on the progress Tesla is making right here at the Reno Tahoe Industrial Center off I-80 in Story County. We're about a 15-minute drive east of Reno Sparks and about a 15-minute drive west of Fernley. On September 4th, 2014, our Governor Brian Sandoval announced Nevada was selected as the final location for the Tesla Gigafactory.
Is that full volume?
It's a big win for Nevada. With this news, we've had quite a bit of interest in our real estate market. Today is January 8th, 2015, and behind me you can see a bit of progress Tesla and partner Panasonic has made since our groundbreaking in August. The factory will be roughly a mile long, 2 stories high, towering at 70 feet tall, and will be in a diamond shape, pointed north to allow for global positioning, system alignment of equipment, and totaling about 10 million square feet. An easier way to visualize this would be to say about 230 acres or 175 football fields. A few other facts from the project. Tesla will receive $1.25 billion in incentives and grants from the state of Nevada in the form of tax breaks and perks. The project cost to build the Gigafactory is approximately $5 billion. Nevada Governor Brian Sandoval estimates that Nevada would enjoy $100 billion in economic benefits over the next 2 decades from the construction of the factory. Tesla Gigafactory is stated to be online by 2017 and fully functional and operational by 2020. The Gigafactory is projected to employ approximately 6,500 employees and supply 500,000 Tesla cars per year. When looking at the real estate market, Reno Sparks' current median home price is about $262,000. This is up about 5% since the announcement, and Fernley's current median home price is closer to $156,000, up approximately 3%. I hope you enjoyed this quick update of Tesla's progress, and if you have any questions about our real estate market or want to view active listings or new construction in the area, please feel free to visit our site at www.renosparkstahoehomes.com.
As I apologize for the volume on that, it sounded kind of low to me, and but I just think they're sharp, you know, keeping everybody updated while trying to sell houses. And I tell you, at the Gigafactory, I think the average pay is going to be $25 an hour plus benefits. So guys, you know, they're going to employ 6,500 people there, and they're going to need an additional 16,000 people, you know, to make pizza and cut hair and, you know, all the additional things that need to be done for people that are making money. You know what I mean? One hand washes the other, guys. So the next clip we're going to show you, and we're going to show you why Tesla is building such a big plant, because Tesla is going to start to offer home batteries. And guys, this is the tip of the iceberg. So it's going to be a while before we really probably find out what's exactly going on, like with the Gigafactory. It seemed it took a couple of months, but they said within the next month, Tesla is going to announce how they're going to make these batteries. So Judy, let's see what this clip is all about.
It was just a couple of sentences during Wednesday's 2014 earnings call by Tesla Motors executives, but in it, CEO Elon Musk apparently revealed a new line of business for the company, selling or leasing lithium-ion battery packs for home energy storage. Musk said, "We're going to unveil the Tesla Home Battery consumer battery that will be for use in people's houses or businesses fairly soon. We have the design done, and it should go into production probably about 6 months or so. We probably have a date to sort the product unveiling. It's probably in the next month or two. It's really great. I'm really excited about it." It remains unclear whether the "we" in Musk's statement refers to Tesla Motors or to Solar City, but the Tesla brand might give added cachet to lithium-ion batteries offered to homeowners who already have solar panels installed.
So guys, this is something else that we're going to have to look forward to. And, you know, I have no idea what they're going to come up with, but I tell you, they just keep blowing me away. And the technology has gotten to the point where everybody's going to start embracing it. Why? Because it works and it saves people money. I mean, really, you know. Now, the next clip we're going to do, and guys, you know, earlier we talked about the business model, how the business model has to change. Well, the holy grail of the changing model is going to be the fact of whether we can employ batteries, so that when the windmills and the solar panels are kicking butt, we're storing that energy so that when they slow down and it gets dark, you release the energy back to the grid. It's a give and take. And guys, when you see the forms of batteries that we're going to show you next on this clip, some of them you probably wouldn't even know what they were. You might have passed them already and thought it was just an electrical hookup of some sort. But when you see this and when you see what the future holds, You're going to be impressed. So Judy, hit it.
Hi, David Dodge here for Green Energy Futures. This week we look at 2 energy storage ideas that could take green energy from infinity to beyond. Well, okay, the Toy Story writers may not have been genius mathematicians, but cheap, reliable energy storage is the holy grail when it comes to integrating renewable energy on a large scale into the grid.
We checked out 2 companies working in the energy storage field. One uses heavy steel flywheels that store kinetic energy, and the second is a battery storage system that's placed right in the community that can absorb energy when demand is low and release energy when demand goes up. The first is eCamion's Community Energy Storage Project, which is being tested out in North York, near Toronto, right now. It uses a piece of technology that we're all familiar with, the lithium-ion battery.
So what we're looking at here is the battery unit where all the battery modules are stored, and the unit has 500 kilowatts of power and 250 kilowatt hours of energy. Inside the cabinet is all the battery modules with all the cells, over 1,700 battery cells, and we've integrated them into one package. And the unit is able to deliver with all the electronic controls power to the grid.
Located right in the community, this battery system helps stabilize the grid. It helps grid assets last longer, and it makes renewable energy systems around it more effective. Pizzurro explains.
So when the sun comes out and the power is not needed in the community center or on the grid, it will store the power into the batteries, and vice versa. When power is needed, it could do the opposite. So, for example, it can store energy from the solar grid, from the solar panels, and then when it's needed, let's say when people come home at night and the sun is not shining or it's cloudy, power from the batteries will go into the grid. So it works as a shock absorber. It works when demand is needed.
These community energy systems can power 20 to 50 houses for short periods of time. The project is the first of its kind in Canada, and they're planning on building 2 more. Cam Carver is the CEO of Temporal Power, and they're building a very different new energy storage technology, a 9,000-pound wheel of steel that can also store energy.
So a flywheel is essentially a mechanical battery that stores kinetic energy. And what we're doing is we're storing energy in a very heavy, fast-spinning wheel of solid steel.
So where did it start? I understand you have the evolution of the flywheel right behind you here.
I do. So the first version of the flywheel was actually a desktop prototype that the inventor Jeffrey Valtteri made in 2009. And so what we have here is a solid steel flywheel that is being levitated by a fully permanent magnetic bearing system. Is able to store energy efficiently over long periods of time.
From this lab bench version, Carver and inventor Jeff Valtteri scaled the flywheel up 3 more times.
And here we're at what is the world's highest energy, highest performance flywheel energy storage system. And this is, I'm a pretty tall guy, I don't know if you can tell that on the camera, but this is almost 7 feet high, weighs about 9,000 pounds, and stores 50 kilowatt hours of energy, about the same as 2 Chevy Volts.
The large flywheel can store excess energy when the sun shines and release it when the sun goes behind the clouds. Essentially, you have a massive floating cylinder of steel turning in a vacuum tube. But how does it work?
So the system really acts like a shock absorber. And what it's doing is when there's excess power, it's spinning up and absorbing that energy and then putting it back on the grid when there's a deficiency of energy. And by doing that, it helps stabilize the electrical grid.
There's that shock absorber analogy again. Carver says that storage systems can help the grid in many ways, but a very important one is to support more renewable energy such as wind and solar on the grid.
Because wind and solar power are intermittent in nature, you need something to help buffer out the power turning on and off as clouds roll over solar plants and as gusts of wind come by wind farms.
Once the electricity grid is getting about 20% of its electricity from renewable energy, you need energy balancing.
What you find on isolated grids, for example, where you get high levels of renewables very, very quickly, that they require this type of energy storage in order to operate the grid stably and allow them to get up to 30, 40, 50, 60% renewables. And that's, and I think you can take it even higher than that.
Temporal Power is installing 2 larger scale systems in Ontario right now.
One is a 5 megawatt system, and that one's in southwest Ontario. And that's providing power quality on a distribution line where there's quite a lot of wind. The other is providing energy balancing to the Ontario power system through the system operator here.
For eCamion and Temporal Power, getting energy storage right could net a really big prize. According to Lux Research, the global energy storage market will grow from $200 million in 2012 to an $11 billion business by 2017. To learn more about energy storage, visit our website at greenenergyfutures.ca. We've got photos, a blog, and a podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Drop us a comment on our Facebook page or send us a tweet or email. Thank you for watching. For Green Energy Futures, I'm David Dodge.
Tell you guys, that website, Green Energy Futures, if you have the time, they got some dynamite stuff up there. And they do, I don't know, they do a clip like every other week or so. And some of the stuff that they have, I mean, it'll just blow you away. And the last thing that they had on there was, it was about biomass, and I never realized how much biomass there is, especially in the logging industry. All the bark and all this stuff, when they cut everything up, they actually use that to generate electricity, and I'll tell you, we should include that on the next show as well. But sticking with batteries, this other company has come up with more or less a salt water type battery. And sometimes this stuff gets a little confusing. And that's why I try to stay away from the newer technologies. I really want to show the stuff that's a proven asset. And when you see this plant, and when you see the product that they're shipping out, you'll understand that it's a valid product and that this stuff works. Although this technology, like I said, this is brandy new. So Judy, let's have the next one.
Aqueon Energy manufactures aqueous hybrid ion batteries for stationary, long-duration energy storage applications, including off-grid and microgrids, energy management, and grid-scale services. Aqueous hybrid ion batteries are made from abundant, non-toxic, and sustainable materials, including a manganese oxide cathode, carbon composite anode, synthetic cotton separator, and a water-based electrolyte. Aqueon's continuous flow manufacturing process begins with inexpensive industrial-grade raw materials. The anode and cathode powders are blended and processed to prepare them for the pellet presses. The pellet presses form the powders into electrodes. The electrodes, separators, and current collectors are then assembled into battery casings using proven vacuum pick-and-place technology, currently in wide use in the food packaging industry. In the finishing process, the battery's lid is hot plate welded to the battery, followed by electrolyte infiltration. Individual batteries are stacked and wired in series to form the S-line battery stack, Aqueon's fundamental system building block. Stacks can be connected in series and parallel to create any number of system configurations. 12 stacks are configured to form Aqueon's M-line battery module. The modules are flexible and scalable and can be assembled into systems ranging from kilowatt hours to megawatt hours. Aqueon recently completed the build-out of their state-of-the-art 350,000 square foot facility in southwestern Pennsylvania. The first manufacturing line is operational, and Aquion began delivering product to customers in the first half of 2014. Full capacity on this line will approach 200 megawatt hours per year, and the factory is currently sized for 5 of these production lines. Aquion is implementing modern manufacturing methods to rapidly bring their breakthrough products to market. Aqueous hybrid ion batteries deliver high performance, safe, sustainable, and cost-effective energy storage, clean and simple.
Some wild stuff, isn't it, guys? I mean, but you look at the plant and you see how efficient everything was run and how clean it is. So, I mean, you know that that technology has to work. I mean, these guys wouldn't invest all that money to come up with a plant like that. I mean, they must have spent a fortune, so keep your eye on that company. And there's so many things that we got to keep our eye on. But, you know, getting back to the solar farms and the solar panels, the next clip we're going to play shows how a solar farm is built. And guys, when you see it, I mean, it's really pretty simple. And it can be done virtually anywhere. And, you know, what you're going to notice is, like, when they open up the gates to let the people, you know, to let the workers on the site, notice how they're all dressed. And they all have their safety uniforms on, and they look like they're so happy to go to work. And I'm telling you that where they're working, I would almost think they'd have to feel guilty. It's so pleasant there. It's almost like they should be paid. You know what I mean? They should be paying the utility for the job. But anyway, we're going to roll the clip, and guys, I tell you, when you see how this is done, and it's not rocket science. There's only like 20 different parts that you need to put these things together. And when you see the way they do it, man, you're looking at the future. So Judy, let's have a peek.
Yuli has 15 years experience in solar projects. So we are doing engineering, procurement, and construction. We are responsible fully for the realization of this project. We want to give this experience to other countries, so we try to use maximum local companies and subcontractor and partners to achieve our targets.
Momentus Energy is the actual developer of the Erasmus 1 solar farm site. The Erasmus 1 solar farm is a 7 megawatt solar farm based on about 12 hectares of land and is located in Rustenburg. We hope that this will also be the first solar farm connected to the grid under the Independent Power Producer Program, and everything looks on track with our EPC partners Juvi to meet that deadline.
On this site alone, we've got 29,808 solar panels that's going to go in. If there's rock under the ground, we need to pre-drill a hole about 1.5 meters deep. Then you put in the anchor. It's about 2 meters long. Once that's in, you've got about 25 pieces per anchor to get the structure up, put all the aluminium frames in. Then you put the aluminium, the beams and the profiles on. All the guys that I've employed on site here are all from the local area, Lepolagang village and Mooinoi. It's going to relieve a lot of stress on our power stations. We're going to start using less coal, less pollution. It can only be fantastic. But working for Juvi, we're working with the best in the world, and we're learning from the best in the world.
Momentus Energy and Rusmo One, they've gone about setting up a trust to represent the local communities. 17% of dividends year on year for the next 20 years from the commencement of operations will benefit the local communities.
The people, they are learning lots from the project, learning the skills from the different companies that were at the site of the Rusmo One. Even our children and the grandchildren, they're going to benefit. The trust is going to help them to reach the east level. All the people of the two villages that they have the shares on that, they're going to benefit. Even those that come, they are neighbors, those villages, they're going to benefit. Energy is here. Let's use this energy correctly.
Guys, solar's the answer. And you know, we have one more clip. Oh, you know what? And I forgot to do this, and I feel so bad about it. Our sound man, Kurt, had an accident, and he's in Bethel Healthcare. So I want to give a shout out to Kurt. Kurt, I hope you're feeling better. I hope you get better. Kurt went out of his way. His buddy got stuck in the snow. So Kurt drives out to help him. He gets out of his car and he falls. And he gets hurt. So what does that teach you? When your friends call, don't answer. No, Kurt's the type of guy that would go out of his way to help anybody. And Kurt, I hope you're feeling better. And but anyway, we wanted to play this last clip, and this is on Fox. And it's about how Fox, the local Fox News, starts to take on the national flavor. So we're going to play this clip. We might not have enough time, but I want you to see what Fox News is trying to do on the local level. So Judy, hit it.
Fox News correspondent Brett Baird.
Fox's Mike Emanuel.
Time now to check in with Brett Baird.
Fox's Mike Emanuel.
Certainly one thing Chris Wallace will be talking about.
Wait a second, this is local news, now Fox News Channel, the conservative cable network. So what are Brett Baird, Chris Wallace, and Mike Emanuel doing on your television? Although most stations won't tell you during their broadcasts, Rupert Murdoch's 21st Century Fox owns and operates 28 local Fox stations in 17 markets through the Fox Television Stations Incorporated. Basically, that means that this station and these stations are run by this man, Roger Ailes, the well-known mastermind behind the misinformation coming out of Fox News Channel. That's why these owned and operated stations often host personalities or run the exact same package from Fox News Channel during their local broadcast, basically mimicking what you'd see if you flipped on Fox's cable network. So for example, something like this from your local Fox-owned station.
Clinton will likely run for president in 2016, but some say she could face a big obstacle that has nothing to do with politics.
Guys, I do have one thing to say about our local Fox affiliate. And that's in Hartford, and they voted in a union. Can you believe that? We'll see you next week, guys.